Hello there. Welcome to the first ever second season of the KMS wrap-up show. I'm back with the show, so I decided let's start wrapping these shows up. Let's start going over some things we might have missed during the show. So I reached out to my good friend Blind Owl the other day. I was like, hey, we used to do this back in the day, in the good old days. You want to go for round two? He said, of course. He's here. He's excellent.
I'm always in for sloppy seconds.
That's right, Blind Owl. How's it going? How you been, buddy?
I've been great. How about yourself?
I've been doing, living the dream back on the show. It's exciting. So
It's been about a year.
Yeah, it's been a while since we did this. I know I did from Justin to Cully, but no one's interested in all that jibber jabber. I will say real quick, I am trying to get the podcast feed back up for the KMS wrap up show. Right now, it's just going to be on YouTube because I forgot things and I deleted things. So we are in the process of getting this going.
Sounds fair.
Well, let's get into it. What a show today! Blind Owl. We had so it's called Rome, and it's based off of Matt Carano's new podcast. Where I'm really in Mike's corner on this. Where I don't understand. We don't know what it is yet because the first episode was all about his backstory of how he met his wife and how he ended up in his situation, and then at the end of the episode, they didn't play it on the show. He says. And in the next episode, we'll kind of get into what this podcast is all about.
Nothing like an hour and 6 minute long trailer.
It did what it needed to be done. It brought eyes to it. It got, the only set of eyes that really matter, pardon the pun, Blind Owl.
Ouch.
But, Kirk Minahan kind of latched onto it. And he said today, he's like, I've listened to this nonstop. I can't stop. It's just, it's something I think he's almost ashamed about how into Rome he is.
It's one of those hate listen things, It's like I'll admit it. I was watching Judge Judy, listening to Judge Judy before I came on here. I watch Judge Judy all the time. It's one of those hate listen things. You can't stand it, but you have to watch it.
Can it be? I mean, there is a void of hate. I do think that at a theater near me was a lot of listeners hate listen. Can Rome kind of fill that void?
I don't think it can, only because it doesn't have the twice daily, almost a daily experience of going to the movies. It's a week you have to wait for these things, and I'm not. I can hang in for 40 minutes or 25 minutes at a theater near me, but I cannot hang in for an hour and 6 minutes of Matt Carano's life story.
Yeah, it was a tough listen. I should be one to speak. But it was just so interesting, like the echoes and the sound effects.
Horror overproduced for no reason. There was no reason for those things.
And like he's a good producer, especially like when you see that video he made of the music video. It's like, oh, this is well done. He's putting in clips of He-Man and Craig, not sharpening knives, and it's very well produced. And it's like I don't think he needs to do that for Rome, but I'm glad he's doing it because it just makes such great content for the Kirk Minahan show. And
I'm a big fan. If somebody wants to do something, just go get after it and do it.
Do it.
If I were to give some advice, every week do one of those 2-minute little videos that he did. That was funny.
I think he might, because he said he's going to be putting out video content on some website.
Yeah, that website looked a little fishy. I wasn't gonna go clicking on that, but it was the video was hilarious. I laughed several times. But the hour and 6 minutes, I laughed just out of uncomfortability. It was strange.
It's just, I do think this is going to be Kirk's kind of niche thing for the next, I don't know how much we'll really talk about it or how much we'll talk about it tomorrow. Because like you said, it is a weekly thing. But I mean, if it's coming out every Monday and this show on Monday, I mean, I can imagine that it's going to be brought up at the first show of the week.
Yeah, and you got to say, boo hiss, have a look at this when it comes on. I mean, that's what you got to do.
And I do think it was a good instinct by Kirk to have Chris on because, one, Chris is kind of in an awkward situation with Matt where it's like he wants to criticize him, but yet he doesn't. It's kind of in like a Twilight Zone where he's he'll say some things and then he'll kind of take it back and he won't go too far. So I do think whenever Carano does something, just kind of like how if Craig did something and Chris was supposed to be in. Kirk would probably have Mike in just to talk about it.
It's a tough spot. I mean, if he's a friend of Chris is a friend of Matt's, and he's like wants to support him, and he knows that going on Kirk's show and mocking it is supporting him, but he doesn't want to go on and unmercifully bludgeon him because then we know Matt's a little sensitive, so that it's kind of a double-edged sword. You're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't, kind of thing. Like when Mike went on and didn't promote Craig's thing, he got, people were saying that he should have. It's like, okay, we were mocking it.
It's tough too because Craig is obviously much more.
Craig's much more involved,
thick-skinned than Carano in regards to that. But yeah, it's just I'm just excited to see episode 2. Like I could see episode 2 being like completely different. Like it could just be like a live stream of him like at a bench, and it's just like stream of consciousness, and it's not edited at all, and it's just like completely different than what we saw in episode 1.
See, it could be that, or it could be some music douche video of him at some open mic night in Punxsutawney, Pennsylvania, playing some folk song nobody's heard of.
Yeah, it could be Here's Wonderwall. And I did see that he did post on Twitter that like we're living 3 weeks in the past. He already has like 3 episodes cooped up, ready to go.
Well, to me, that sounds like he hasn't gone anywhere. He's just preparing. Like,
I don't know.
Buying the RV, I'd like to hear that story. That could be interesting for 15, 20 minutes.
Buying an RV is an interesting story for 15 minutes.
I mean, like if there's a story behind it, like if you bought one and then it fell through and some guy was an asshole, like it's better than telling your life story that nobody cares about. It's something we can all kind of relate to.
I guess I don't know if how many car buying stories are too exciting, but yeah. So that kind of does it with Rome. I don't know if you have anything else to say on that matter.
I mean, I love the banjo. That's all I have to say.
The banjo is great. I don't know. I tweeted out a clip from the show account of Mike and Chris just dancing. I don't know.
Doing a little jig.
Mike's doing a little jig. And
I did it when I first heard it. I did a little.
I really did think that Rome was going to kind of steal the day of like the main topic. And then the Chris thing happens where Chris walks out and you're like, holy shit. Like now, it's kind of it's a big. It wasn't like a storm out or Kirk was like, "Get the fuck out of my face! I never want to see you again."
He just left.
He just left. He said that he's unable to do the podcast next week because he has a buddy coming in for the NBA Finals and he'll be out drinking on Wednesday night, and then he's going to Baltimore for something for the weekend. So he's unable to come in Thursday morning, and. I don't think people realize. I think people think that Kirk kicked Chris out because he said he can't come in next week and he has obligations. I think it's when Kirk was like, well, would you kind of want to come in on maybe, switch with Mike for a Monday, Tuesday, even Wednesday? And Chris was like, I don't know. I think I'm busy. And it wasn't even that like he could truly be busy, but it's just the fact that he wasn't like, let me check. He was like it was a assumed negative when he gave when Mike's coming on a different day, it's an assumed positive. He's like, I think so, but let me just check my things. Like Chris is like, I don't know. It's like it just didn't seem like he just wanted to come in next week.
The best, I was always told, the best ability is availability, and if you're there, you can do it. And the easiest thing as a married man, and Chris is a married man, all you have to say is, I think my wife may have booked something for that day. Let me look. Let me ask.
That's another thing too. The excuse, which I'll get to in a second, of why I tweeted out earlier why I think Dave Cullinane might be to blame for this. The excuse of I might be hungover is just terrible. It doesn't matter if it's
true. That's not even an excuse. That's just true.
If it's for a job or a volunteering or whatever Chris wants to call his role on KMS. It's just not. It doesn't look well if you say
it doesn't fly. I mean, it's not a good excuse, but it's an actual reason. Like it's not like, but I think that would be good content if he came in just hungover as shit.
I guess
it would be funny. They'd mock it for 40 minutes, and hopefully he'd rebound after he'd have some hair of the dog, a little cider in the morning.
Yeah, I think Chris should just start getting drunk in studio. It'd be great.
I'm working my way there.
So the reason why I think Dave is to blame is I think Dave set this precedent. with the main mini golf thing a couple weeks ago, where he said,
Oh,
I'm not able to make it to this KMS event. Whether I know it's not a show, but it's the main mini golf thing in August. Dave said, I can't make it in because I have a wedding, not that day, the
the
day
next day,
before.
the day
And
before, yeah.
and he pretty much said, like, I will be too hungover. It's too much of an inconvenience to. He pretty much kind of had the same exact excuses as Chris. I mean, Dave might as well have said it's my friend's wedding, and I want to hang out with him the entire weekend.
See, one difference there is it's not Dave's family; it's his wife's family, and being in a situation like that before.
Yes, but I can also give you the other difference is that Dave works for the show and Chris doesn't.
Exactly. That's again, there's another difference there.
Chris, I think, is a levels guy. I think he looks at people on levels. He looks at Kirk, and I
think you know that very well.
and I don't think he looks at Kirk as someone who's on his level. I think he thinks of Kirk as Hiram. I do think, in the scheme of things, Chris might be going off doing some barstool thing. Who knows? Who knows with all that?
I plead the fifth on that. I don't know anything.
But I do think he looks at, like, okay, if Dave's able to do this, if Dave is able to say, I don't want to, or I'm unable to do this show event because I will be partying the day before and I have family and friends that I need to, quote unquote, take care of. And he sees Kirk be like, that's fine. I think Chris thinks, okay, well then I can do this as well. It's a valid excuse.
There's a little of that. There's a little of that, but this like a wedding is a little different than going to a game, and not having the opportunity to change the schedule.
I agree with
different as well.
No, I definitely agree with that. I do think that, like, a wedding is different than, but I just think that when the excuse, like, take away the event, like, I'm going out the night before and I want to hang out with either, whether it be, because my wife or my friend. I do think a little bit of this blame is to fall on Cullinane for kind of setting the precedent.
I'm happy to blame Cullinane for anything, personally. As I tweeted earlier, I don't even know. I didn't know the situation yet, but he's to blame. But I sort of disagree with you because it's so much different because the wedding is in Rhode Island, I think Dave said, right?
Yep.
And Chris is going to be home. Like, it's one night. Yeah, you might.
I agree with all this. And I do think that Dave.
But the precedent may have been set and he thinks he's on Cullinane's level.
Yes, I do think that Dave has more of a excuse than Chris, but I do think that it definitely played a role into it. Into him saying, oh, maybe I'll just, because I do think and I also think too, I see someone in the comments here that says, yes, but Dave is actually paid to be there and a real part of the show. And Chris is just using KMS as a stepping stone to Barstool. I don't know why Kirk continues to allow it. I do think that if this were to happen whenever Chris started coming in, if let's say Chris started coming in June of last year and the Celtics were in the NBA finals and his buddy said, do this, I do think Chris would be like, no, I had this great opportunity. I'm not going to blow it. I do think Chris thinks he's cemented enough where he's able to not show up to these things or not.
Oh, I agree. I think what Chris would have said in that scenario that you laid out, I think he would have said, he would have done both. He would have gone and then he would have came in the next day.
Yes. And I do think that, let's say he's on, I don't know, like, let's just pick a Barstool YouTube show, The Yak, in like 2 weeks. If, let's say, the Knicks were in the finals and his buddy got tickets to, like, go see the Knicks, there's no chance that Chris is missing The Yak the next day.
Yeah, I mean, there's no chance, and that's part of the conversation. I don't think Kirk will. I mean, Kirk would make it part of the conversation if he did come in. Now, honestly, if you're Chris, you have to come in. There's no choice now. You have to have to now.
But I don't know if Kirk will.
If Kirk allows, that is.
If Kirk, I'm not sure if Chris is coming in tomorrow. I'd be interested to see if Chris comes in next week. Like, I don't know if I don't know if Kirk's just going to be like, nope, we're all set.
I mean,
because I don't know, it's pretty set in stone when Kirk says he's all set with something.
Yeah, all set is.
It's like, oof.
And even when Kirk, when he seems angry at people, he'll bring them back to fight it out. But he just didn't even seem angry. He just seemed
I'm like
passive, just like, okay, I'm all set. See you later.
I think when Kirk says if he's all set with someone, that's almost like a kiss of death. Like, I'm not saying it's impossible to come back from, but it's tough It's one thing to be like, fuck this guy, fuck him, he sucks. I mean, we've seen Kirk do that with Jerry. We've seen Kirk do that with a bunch of people at Barstool, and things. I'm not saying they always do, but I'm saying you can come back from that. When Kirk said like, I'm all set. Nope, I'm good. It's like, ooh,
I mean, it's just like the curse of not being hated but not being loved. It's just when you're in the middle, you get forgotten about. Middle child kind of thing. If you're in the middle, you get forgotten about,
I guess. But so I wanted to bring this up because I don't even think that Chris saying he's not going to come in next week was his biggest sin from today. I
agree.
I actually think it was. Let me just bring up this clip.
How are you two doing before we get anything else? Because Mike was not. Mike
don't
was
worry
angry.
about it. Chris bent the knee. It's all fine.
I called him. I felt so bad. He said his feelings were hurt.
No.
Why are you calling him during? We settle
Kirk,
it here,
Kirk.
Yeah, I just think think that is just a major not understanding the show sort of thing, where it's like, listen, we're on the Kirk Minahan show. We hash things out on show. It's one thing if Mike says, so-and-so, my best friend was diagnosed with this, and you call him and be like, I'm sorry about that. But if you have beef with someone inside the world, especially someone who's on the show, you go on the show to bring it out. You don't call them and say, oh, like, I feel bad. I think Chris needs to stop. If he wants to be a part of KMS, he needs to stop being friends with he needs to stop pretending that he needs to be friends with everyone. Doesn't need to be friends with Kirk. Doesn't need to be friends with Dave. Doesn't need to be friends with Mike. Doesn't need to be friends with me. So like when things happen like this, so when Mike calls him out, he can't call him off the show and settle it there.
See, what he needs to do is just did things in the reverse order. What he needs to do is come to. Whoa, where'd he go? Anyway, I'll go soliloquy. So he needs to go to the show, have it out, and then afterwards, if there's heat, he needs to call and say, okay, we're at that, but I'm not even sure if I'm live anymore, to be completely honest. For those out there, this is my solo moment, and it is unexpected, and I love it.
Sorry, I'm back. Yes,
and he's back. So what I was saying is basically he needs to go on the show, have it out, and then if there's real animosity, you maybe do a phone call, be like, hey.
No, you don't do a phone call.
No. I'm saying have it out on the show, then say, okay, we're good, or...
Yep, and then you either say you're good on the show or you say you're not good on the show, and it continues to be a thing. You don't call someone and be like, hey, just so you know, this is what happened. Let me explain myself off air, off content. It's just not what people do in the Kirk Minahan show universe. And like, maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am.
I mean, you've been in many number of fights on the Kirk Minahan show. I mean, Chris Klemmer itself, did he reach out to you afterwards or before?
Afterwards, and it was kind of like, I think I sent him like a thumbs up emoji or something like that.
Yeah, like that's what I meant by reach out afterwards. Just like, okay, we did it.
You do things on the show, and I do think that's it's almost up there with I'm not joking with Steve. Maybe it's not. It's a step below Steve cutting audio, and I do think the reason why I do think like Kirk's initial reaction of just banging on the thing was legitimate, but I do think his old Quantum Week partner Matt kind of saved him here, because I do think the only thing Kirk wanted to talk about was Rome, and I think he wanted Chris there. I do think that if it was a different day and that Kirk, we kind of had less to talk about in regards to that, I could definitely see Kirk kind of just ripping Chris for a while.
Oh, I agree, and I think Mike played that perfectly.
I could. I mean, that would be reason to kick someone off the show and be like, "Oh, you want to talk off the show? Get the fuck off the show then." Like, if you want to,
I could see that happening. I think Mike played that perfectly, saying, "Oh, he bent the knee," and then Kirk says, "What do you mean by that?" And then Mike basically said, "Chris, tell him what happened."
Yeah, he's like, "I didn't do it, Kirk.
I had nothing to do with it. I just picked up the phone." And even he said, "I wasn't sure if I should answer." And then Chris said, "The phone did ring a while." So I mean, that was Mike knows how it's done. He knows how it's played.
It was just it was not. I don't know. It just you look at it and you just go, this was not. I think that was honestly, that might be Chris's biggest, I don't want to say mistake, but kind of like blunder. And it's one of those things where it's like not being upset at Chris because he fucked up, but it's like that's just a general understanding of the show. I remember a while back when Kirk was yelling at Steve for like not cutting up clips. He was like, that was just a stupid mistake. That wasn't like not under like cutting show content and like taking things out is just straight up like not understanding the show. And so that's the difference. And I definitely think that's a huge, and I do think that Chris really got a pass on that.
Yeah, there was a lot going on, so I think he got a nice pass.
Yeah. So that was the main takeaway. I mean, we also kind of talked about NESN 360.
Oh, I don't know about you, but I'm locked in.
Which is just fucking wild. It is. I think they forgot to mention on the show that it is like if you already have NESN, you get NESN 360 for free.
Oh, do you?
I think so.
I believe I have NESN, so I may have to check in.
Well, congratulations. Looks like you can watch Jared Carabas fold laundry now with Mookie Betts.
Oh,
and
he's not on the Red Sox anymore.
Okay, well, maybe he'll, I don't know, with Derek Lowe or someone.
Derek Lowe.
Yeah, Derek Lowe.
Hideo Nomo, he out there still? Does he speak English? I don't know.
You're telling me you would not want to see replace Jared Carabas with Dale Arnold doing like Bruins players' laundries.
Oh,
that'd be great. He'd just be like, just the outtakes is just Dale like in the background by himself, just like sniffing Patrice Bergeron's jersey, just like.
Well, Patrice, you had a good game tonight. I can smell it in your
perspiration.
perspiration.
I think I smell a hat trick. But I just think it's wild that all these fucking, because everyone's been saying the past couple of years, they've been saying we need more streaming services.
Everyone's That's what I need.
Not enough. I mean, I only have Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, HBO, Peacock, ESPN Plus.
My family has, my wife has Disney Plus and Paramount Plus.
Hey, yeah, Paramount. There's a million of them, but I need more. I need a NESN 360.
I need something that I put on to fall asleep to pay $30 extra dollars a month
need
for.
A NESN 360, but I need if there's a step beyond NESN 360, I need that.
I need NESN 720. That's what I need.
When the fuck will it end? So yeah, I can see that definitely going the way of CNN Plus, where they have it for a month or two.
Month and a half, and it's gone.
It just kind of tanks.
So. I mean, you see these things pop up and they just disappear because it's like, imagine if the Bruins decide not to re-up with NESN, or the Red Sox won't. They're owned by the same company, but imagine the Bruins don't. They've got nothing.
I guess, but I mean, NESN will probably pay the Bruins whatever because it's like what they have. I mean, what else would they put on in the winter?
I mean, I don't know, but exactly. But you know what? I've seen, I don't travel a lot, but this is one of the only places, and the bigger cities are the only places that have dedicated like local sports stations, like Yes Network and NESN, and I'm sure LA. When you go to like, even down in Tampa, it's not a sports station that has it's like the local ESPN news stations.
Yeah, or it's like an ESPN AM station.
Exactly. Or
a bunch of shit.
Even up in New Hampshire, it's just like the local station that has it. It's not. They don't need a dedicated station. Like make NESN. I don't know. It just seems weird that you're going to open a streaming service and have 400 people get it.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting to see how that pans out, and I'm sure that will be and I mean, good for Jarris.
I was going to say, good on Jared cashing in.
Good on Jared cashing in, getting more opportunities, and I'm sure that's in his contract with that company. But it's just like I mean, no one's like, maybe his Section 10 fans or the Jared Carabas podcast, whatever the fuck it's called, will watch it. But I don't know anyone who's gonna flip on.
Like, if I get it for free, I'll watch it because I already pay for it. But
I mean, I'm probably gonna watch it just to find clips of it.
Yeah, exactly. But like, and good on Jared. I mean, that's probably what he wants to do. He wants to hang out with Red Sox players.
He wants to hang out, and it's good on him. I mean, the man's living his fucking dream. So
good for him. I mean,
the last thing I have from today is kind of not super big news, but Kirk will be doing another Wilbur show in about a week. June 13th, he'll be at the Foreplay. Sounds like me and Dave will be in attendance as well to kind of check things out and see how things at the Wilbur go. But that's kind of, I mean, if you're a golf guy and you got nothing going on a Monday night, you might as well check it out. I mean,
And-
Kirk's.
And if you're Kirk, that's a good dry run. See what we got. What are we,
Yeah, it's a good.
what are we
I
working
think
with?
it's going to be very different. But I do think that if you like Kirk, especially when he gets into the golf topics,
Mhm.
I know there's a lot of golf fans out there.
So yeah, I'm not a huge golf fan. A, I'm terrible, and B, it's very hard to see on the television for me. So, but yeah, it's a good opportunity for Dave and you to go in and really take a survey. Okay, how did one place do it? How can we do it a little different?
Yeah, and the Foreplay guys, they're great. So I'm sure they'll put on a
Yeah,
good.
they seem like nice guys.
for the podcast. And Kirk also did say he's one of the guests, so I'm sure there will be.
Oh God, I'm sure they'll be filleting Tiger Woods or some golfer they love.
I'm sure. I mean, that's what they do. That's what the Foreplay boys do.
That's what it is. That's what it is. It's I mock it, but that's what they
Yeah.
do.
Anything else, Blind Owl?
Well, I mean, no. I mean, I'm just glad to be back here. I mean, it's
BO blogs.
BO blogs, of course.
going.
I kept that going. It's still going. It's going on I'm on my first year and a half of doing this or so. So I mean, I don't know why I still do it, but and reach out to Kirk's Painter for all your painting needs, our official sponsor.
Oh yes, just definitely check them out.
He pays me nothing, just so you know.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. So that about does it. I'm excited to see what tomorrow's show will bring. I don't know if Chris is going to be in or what's going to happen. Oh, real quick, wild story. On my drive home, I'm driving down the street. I see a car going opposite of me. It fucking flies up in the air, goes right in a ditch. I have to turn around. I'm on the phone with 911. I'm opening the door. I'm seeing that the woman's okay. She's not saying anything. I have to move the airbag out of the way, and she's just she's not saying anything. She's just staring there. And
is she breathing?
Yeah, she was breathing. She was awake, and I was like, "Are you okay?" And she just wasn't acknowledging me. So I'm like, "Fuck." I was like, I don't know if she was in shock or blah blah blah. Turns out she had a seizure. And she went into a pretty bad car accident, but she seemed to be fine. But so that's why I tweeted.
Yeah, you don't touch.
Yeah,
in that scenario.
Yeah, I tweeted out earlier today. I was like, interesting car ride back, and I almost cried afterwards. I was like, oh, this is
that's a.
But anyway,
that's a situation.
That was that.
Justin Trudell, lifesaver.
Oh yeah, that's right. I wanted to. 1 second, and I was going through the clips or the show. I was watching it for to find content. And I just found this to be just very funny.
Sure.
See, StreamYard's been acting strange, so
I just started the hashtag lifesaver Justin, just so you know.
Perfect. Let's watch this real quick. This I just think was very funny.
Somebody pointed out to me, I will say also, Justin is in this thing now with these underage girls at this golf club.
Sure.
Did he not say, Dave, or Mike, remember this more famously, that his
Yeah.
predilection for pornography wasn't some sort of college age?
I started college when I was 17.
Yeah, I would say.
No, I believe it was exploiting college girls.
Exploit, right. Is that what it was, Justin?
Yes. So anyway, that was just a funny little clip. I just.
I mean, I also started college when I was 17. So.
Okay, well that's great. Okay, everyone. I started college and I was 19 the next day. Okay, so we'll.
Here we sit.
Yeah,
some of us are advanced.
Yeah, that's right. We'll end on that. Okie dokie. Thank you. Hopefully everyone subscribes, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow.